are growing a community that is inclusive and affirming. God loves each and every one of us. And God commands that we love one another for free. No matter where you come from, no matter what you've been doing, no matter who you are, who you've been, and all that stuff, we love you for free. So we're inclusive. Our core values: transformative worship, biblically basic, theologically sound preaching, prayers and lifestyle, active commitment to social justice, self-development and personal growth, working towards generational healing, growing a community that is inclusive and affirming. That is our core. These are our core values. So as we grow closer to God as a congregation, God is going to allow us to operate in these veins because these are according to His will and according to God's mission and vision for this congregation. That's what makes us different. We don't have the same mission and vision as other congregations. So as we do the things that God has told us, trust in the Lord, do good, dwell in the land, and be free in faithfulness, delight yourself in the Lord, then He will give us the desires of our heart. Let me throw these at you here. When you think about it in your quiet time, what are the desires of your heart? What are the desires of your heart? And these desires of your heart are things that resonate with your core values. I'm not talking about, I want a car. I'm not talking about, I want this coat. I'm talking about the desires of your heart. Those things that have been planted in you, that when you were a little child, that you dreamed about. That as you became an adolescent, you reflected back on it and you wrestled with it. Through your teen years, you reflected on it and you thought about it. Through your 20s and through your college years and through your 30s, these are the things that continue to ponder in your mind and they marinate in your mind. These are the things that I believe that God has planted in your heart. That at some particular moment that you will germinate and allow it to grow. Unidirectional is just doing church stuff. But bi-directional is when you not only do the church stuff per se, spiritual, not just religious, but when you also allow that uniqueness that's in you to manifest. So God can say, yes, my child, I created you so differently, and the fruit that you should bloom and blossom should be fruit that has no name, because you are uniquely different than everybody else. So I'm asking, what are your desires? What are those things that you long for, that you yearn for? And then, do they match up with your core values? And then the question is it possible that those things that you desire and that you're longing for, that you're yearning for, is it possible that God also desires for you to have those things? Is it possible? Then my question is, what is the next step that you need to take to begin to grow and manifest those desires of your heart? What is the next step you need to take? For some, it's just acknowledging that this crazy idea that I have in my head that I've had for 20 years, it is for me. I need to go for it. That may be the next step. The next step may be saying, you know what? As people ask me, what am I working on? I'm going to start to tell them. I'm working on a plan or a strategic plan to manifest this thing right here. Your next step may be to do the very research that it will take to create a budget and or action plan and or to identify resources to manifest this thing that is all over you. What is keeping you from those desires? What is it that is keeping you from those desires? God created us to not only be God exalting and God glorifying, but to be soul satisfied. God created us to be soul satisfied. And I believe that's why we're unique. That's why each of us has a different, unique soul. Because there's something in us that we need to manifest. while we're here. As you think about and ponder this race that you're on, as you envision and are challenged to make sure that you create God's sightings on this race. When you run a marathon, you know that there are benchmarks and there are physical demarkers. When you get to this corner, you know that you ran 3 miles. When you get to this hill, you know that's the 5th mile coming. When you cross the street where the university is, you know that's mile 7. And on this Christian race that we're on this Christian journey, we need to create some landmarks. I call them God signs. Because if you use your spiritual vision, then every time you see God on this race, you know you're moving in the right direction. Because God will never leave you nor forsake you, which means that God is already on the course that you're traveling. And as long as you can see God on the course, you know you're moving in the right direction. If you begin to move too far, you have too few God sightings, you know you need to pause for the cause and take a breath just for a second. Begin to think about all the things and the people and things that you're grateful for. But you need to align yourself with God. Question has been asked already. As we're on our mark and getting set to go, are we going with God? The question's been posed already. And the reality is God has given you some desires that will take you off the hidden and beaten path. You will need to separate from the other runners on the race. That's why we don't all necessarily start at the same point. God will play your desires in your heart. And when you're ready to roll with God, God may make you take a deep right turn into the darkness, into the wilderness. And that's why we go through the valley. Because God said, there's something here that I want you to pick up, absorb. But I don't want you to live here. Just want you to go through it. So as you are on your course, make sure you have enough God signs so that you can feel confident, feel affirmed, and feel that God is with you on this journey, even if most of the people will never understand. You may think like I think. And to be honest with you, I think I'm one of the weirdest people in the world. I really do. I really do. Because some things that just make my life flicker, other people are like, "Who you strange?" You know what? And I've learned to accept it. You know what? I am strange. I'm strangely created by God in a very strange way. I'm so strange that I can't even explain to you how it comes to be, but God. And so in my strangeness, I realize that I'm just going to be a happy, proud strange. If you call me a geek, so be it. If you call me a nerd, so be it. If you call me a weirdo, so be it. If you call me a strange person, so be it. I will wear all those hats. I will wear all those ties. I will wear all those shirts. Because you know what? God created me this way. And when I wear what God has for me to put on, can't nobody mess with me. Can't nobody stop me from what God has in store for me. So you know what? Be the weirdest person there is. Be the geek. Be the nerd. Be that person who, you know, folks are like, man, there's something, you know what? Be that. Because God has created you uniquely individual. And God really wants you to have those desires that are on your heart, that are soul satisfying, that are based on your core values, and that are according to God's will. So as we walk 2 legs, not just one. Be a good Christian. Being a Christian is living a lifestyle, not necessarily doing all the things that quote-unquote Christians do. Be godly. Be like Jesus. That's the lifestyle. But also realize that God has planted some unique stuff in you that only you can manifest. So don't run from it, run to it. Don't ignore it, highlight it. Don't act like it's just something that is wrong with you. Know that it is exactly what's right with you. So get on your mark. Let's all get set. And let's go.